Since the war ended last June, Israeli reprisals for raids across the new frontier of the Jordan have driven the Arab inhabitants of the valley up onto the windswept heights above. Here, these simple Arab peoples, refugees already from last year's war, have been made refugees again in new improvised camps. About 80,000 people now live in 6 such camps. And here today, bitter thoughts about this repeated exodus are sharpened by fears of the coming winter.
Possibly stay here in the winter because this place high here. And always there in the winter here, snow, maybe 1 meter or 1.5 meter. And tents not sufficient to the people here.
How do you think these people are going to come through the winter here?
Well, I have a lot of fears for them at the moment. There's estimated to be about 32,000 people here. And the plan was to provide them all with concrete shelters or asbestos shelters of some sort. We're now in the middle of September and the money apparently can't be found to do this.
How would they survive if they had to live on in these tents during the winter?
Well, I think very badly. If you look around you, you can see that this place is in a sort of natural basin. And I just visualize the water coming down the hills and sweeping the whole lot away.
The numbers in such camps are swollen by others coming continually from the Gaza Strip, 2,000 a month until August, when the Jordanians stop further entry. Even before winter comes, the problems of life here are acute, and a new desperation has seized the 50-year-old Palestine problem.
This is the wife of my brother. My brother and a man go to search about work. Every day from the morning to the evening comes without any money. There is no any work. This is my daughter, this is my brother, and this is boy for
Where's your tent?
My tent is there.
If we could go to it. Can we go there?
Yes, welcome. We want from our friends, English, American, everyone in all world must know everything about our living here. We are from Palestine, not from here. We must return to Palestine, our villages, our rooms, our country.
In these circumstances, it's not surprising that these camps are now breeding grounds of what are generally known as the Fatah, the new wave of Arab guerrilla commandos. Are many people helping the commandos?
Yes, any people in all Arabian states. On all Arabian states, people with money and everyone, every young man go to with commands. Not here only, in any place in Jordan. Not here only, in any place in Jordan. And ladies also.
Are young men from this camp going to join the Fedayeen commandos?
Yes. My uncle, believe me, my uncle, young man, leave this tent, not this tent, other tent, and go to the commands. Because the condition is very, very bad here. Why to stay here?
These Fatah commandos in their camouflage uniforms can today be seen walking openly about the streets of Amman, capital of King Hussein's Jordan. Financed, equipped and trained quite independently of Jordan, the commandos are a law unto themselves, which Hussein has to accept if he wants to keep his throne, for their popularity today is immense. The commandos' raids into former Jordan territory, though on a small scale and carried out with very high casualties, have nevertheless raised Palestine Arab morale to its highest peak in 20 years. The commandos' new fame and self-confidence stems from a battle fought last March in the Jordan Valley with invading Israeli reprisal forces at Karami. Karami, a Jordan Valley refugee town with a commando base, had already been shelled by Israelis and largely evacuated of civilians before an Israeli land attack on March the 21st. Then Arab commandos stood and fought, aided by Jordan army artillery in the hills. Israeli casualties were high. At last, some Arab pride could be added to the bitterness and suffering brought to ordinary Arab peoples by last year's war and this devastating truce. Arab boy commandos training in the Jordan hills call for victory in Palestine. goes on in these boys' minds.
We shall return to Jerusalem and the all of Palestine. I shall fight with a knife. I shall die and give my blood to Palestine.
There is no other way but to fight. Of course, we are not bloodthirsty. If our rights were to be returned to us peacefully, we would only be too glad to have that happen. Add to this the new factor that has been injected into the situation, guerrilla warfare. And this, I think, is the most important turning point since the June War. There had been guerrilla activities before, I grant you that, specifically in 1955. But the activities were on much smaller scale, and they involved another class of fighter. Today, every Palestinian feels involved in the fighting, and it is not the peasants who are recruited, but it is also university graduates now who are in the trenches, who have left their careers as architects, lawyers, doctors, who are involved in the guerrilla fighting. I believe only if one were to take a racist attitude would one believe that forever after Israel is going to have superiority. In other words, that the Arabs are inferior forever after. If you believe that the Arabs are capable of learning, of correcting their mistakes, of realizing some of their vast potential over time, then you will immediately realize that we could, if better led, more determined, we could reduce the gap between the Israelis and ourselves, and in time become ourselves superior. There are some people, I think, who through miscalculation believe that guerrilla fighting can be a decisive factor by itself. I don't personally. I personally believe that we can be the spearhead for the struggle. We can be the conscience of the Arab world, reminding it all the time of our rights through our action. We can be a pressure mechanism, if you wish, which will make the Arab armies ask for and get better arms, better training all the time.
But isn't it possible that perhaps some of the Arab governments might be prepared to accept a settlement of the Palestine situation which would not be acceptable to Palestinians?
Theoretically, yes. In practice, they will find it very difficult to do so, because I think their peoples would be on our side in putting pressure on them not to sell our cause cheaply.
For instance, as a Palestinian, what sort of final settlement could you accept? Could you ever accept the continuance of a Jewish state?
No, definitely no. For the simple reason that this state was established in our land against our will.
Well, then what sort of future do you see for the Jews who are undoubtedly living there?
Let me first say that by the same logic that I refused a racist state, which is Jewish, I also refuse a racist state, which is Arab. What we want is Palestine, where the refugees can go back to their homes and land, and where those Jews who want to stay can stay and live in equality in a democratic state along with the Arabs.
How effective, really, do you think this guerrilla warfare can be?
I don't think it can be decisive in itself, but it can be very effective.
How would it work in being effective?
Well, we have to have more of it, of course. As I see it, there are three phases. There's the present phase of hit and run. There's the phase of operating from within, from bases inside. And there's the phase when you have enough numbers to turn the guerrilla warfare into a war for liberation, involving many, many thousands of Palestinians in operation.
And at that stage, presumably bringing in Arab armies as well?
Not bringing them in, but perhaps having them ready to reply to large-scale Israeli reaction, which will no doubt be forthcoming. And this is where I think the link is seen clearest between our activities and Arab armies, namely that At this stage, we don't want them to attack, and they are not ready to attack anyway. All we want them to do is to be ready to defend themselves, defend our backs, as it were, and defend their own countries when the Israelis hit hard in reply to our activities.